Hey there, trade seekers. We're going to go into a market review here for the last couple of weeks actually, but I just wanted to go over a couple of things here. So this last week and the week prior, we've been in consolidation, and we have finally on the SPY daily chart here moved the yearly value area up. So we've planted enough significant volume up here and here that it shifted the value from down below here where we were earlier in April all the way up to where we're at now here in May. As we close the month out, we're nearing very close to all-time highs here on SPY. Still have some work to do, and we're seeing more of the sectors on the 200 moving average here for breadth. The different spiders, we're still creeping up. More of them are green now, and if we head towards some of the shorter time frames, looking at the last 50 days, we can see right around the beginning of May, effectively, we have lit up nearly across the board, showing strong breadth with an average of about 68% for where we're at right here now. So point of control has moved up at 588 for SPY. So very exciting. We did see the long-term breadth shift up to the upside here early May. And we did have a decline on the fast trend here, showing a potential bottom signal on May 22nd, and a little scare here on this extra dip that we had after the fact and coming back up here. So you'd be in the good hands here to have entered long on that signal there. Okay. And other than that, we've had, from a deviation standpoint, a couple of strong volume prints at the highs here from, looks like, May 21st, as well as this past Friday. So it will be interesting to see what the market does with that. Coming in and looking at this past Friday, we are dealing with a weekly gap that we created some time ago, and we have not visited this gap save for the recent market upturn into this gap. And we're looking at this, we can see lots of struggle where we have somewhat of a gap overnight and selling off, gap overnight, selling off. This was the first time where we had a gap down, and we did sell off on some tariff news here, only to have bought it all the way back. And market just really struggled with the midpoint of this weekly gap. So looking at this overall, we had a lot of mix on our tick data here from the New York Exchange, and the top lick in the market here, top liquidity stocks, your Microsofts, your Apple, all of them also seem to struggle here towards the end of this week. Honestly, the action I felt was pretty typical of a short week. So coming in, Monday's session was closed due to the holiday. And so whenever we have that, typically the prior Friday to the market holiday and the day after the market holiday, it just tends to kind of be kooky, for lack of a better word. So going into this past prior week, prior to this last one here, you can see we had a strong sell-off on Wednesday, top liquidity, and I believe this was a news hit. I can't remember at the exact moment what that was, but mostly we're trading right upwards of 595 down to 580s, I'll say, for the past couple weeks. So the market is in somewhat of a holding pattern, and FOMC didn't really provide a ton of reaction for us that we had. So not much to write home about there. I wanted to go and look at futures market though, and just show the importance of a couple things here. So have some notes on this. Might have given it away already, but earlier in the week, looking at all of this, we struggled with this gap that the ES market also has, similar to SPY. And mostly notice the weekly profile has the volume centered for the most part. Lots of weak volume planted up here on this run in pre-market, after hours, and I believe this was the loosening of chips tariff policy, if I'm not mistaken. And so that quickly sold off, and I think that was mostly due to the market just kind of being a little bit more overzealous and some more news coming out. But notice this. So when we see this value here more in the center, the market's really in a holding pattern. We're not really sure which way we're going to go, and nobody can agree on strong sentiment one way or the other. And the prior week to that one, I believe it was a lower end value area. Let's let that load in here. Okay, no, I'm mistaken. So it was more on the upper range, but we closed below. So this is more of like a failed value area, in my opinion, where yes, we planted more of the volume up here and created the value, but the market really just didn't agree towards the end of the week session, closing below. But the thing that I wanted to pull up on was that the point of control for ES was the 58. And that carried over, and that was actually the bottom on Friday's session. So we came in, hit the current point of control for the running week, only to sell off strong and then bounce off of the virgin point of control here from the week prior and jump right back into the gap here where we did a rejection into the end of the session. NASDAQ was not as clean coming into the week. We were dealing with, I think, a very similar profile from ES. Yeah, the value was near the high. We tested that in the short week here that we just finished up for the last week of May, jumping off of that value area low into high, and we kind of struggled with that. But again, had the tariff news break out, retest all the way back, selling all of this back down. And so the one thing I would say is keep this range mentally just in your notes or mark it on your charts. I think this range, when we do come to visit this, is going to be a tough battle. Given anybody that was a buyer up here is is going to be looking to get out as soon as we get up there, assuming they're still in. But yeah, so the value area low ended up kind of coinciding with the same bounce that ES had off of that prior point of control. And they were a little bit more sloppy here on the NASDAQ market, with the gap zone staying within the mid to low area for quite some time between. I mean, the other day, actually, we stayed within it completely, and the day prior. And then Friday, we kind of violated down below here and then bounced back up. So overall, with the value areas being near the center, I really think it's going to come down to any kind of headline risk, any news coming out, and just kind of playing the levels. We're going to be potentially coming back down into the lows here from the prior couple weeks, maybe even down here. Or if the market decides they're excited about something, then maybe we'll have more of a run up higher. So this was also part of NVIDIA earnings where we had this run, and it just didn't hold. So market was not excited enough to find more buyers down here, and so selling all of that off and more is quite telling in my opinion. One other thing I wanted to review as well is the VIX. Going into VIX, we see from May 30th we hit 20 again, so same thing as earlier in the morning and then in the afternoon. So that's a couple of news prints here, really quickly sold back off, or came back down. Can't really, and then all the way down to 18.6 is where we closed off. So far, not a lot of volatility in the market still, but I would say, given where we're at on the daily time frame and inside of the year's value area, I would definitely be cautious. Wouldn't be adding a lot of big longs up here, just in the event that we do have more comments from the administration or other sources. It does seem like the market is ready to sell at a moment's notice, and technically we still have the 50 moving average underneath the 200. So definitely for me, I'm going to be a little patient with any kind of new investments, any new entries on anything until I see a little bit more of buying strength as we near the all-time highs here. All right, so I think that about wraps it up. Just another reminder, if you're interested in trading intraday or any other things, weekly strategies, or you just want to talk with folks that might be interested in similar things, do have a Discord community that have launched this year. We're floating somewhere around 70 members, and would love to have you. So feel free to join. You can find the link on my community launch post on X. There's also a video that I announced the community on YouTube. Feel free to join through that link. And as always, thank you for watching and happy trading.